Hey everybody, welcome to our latest deck tech. If you guys like these videos, go down, hit subscribe, ding that bell. If you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Yeah, check out our YouTube here around everything. We got a lot of stuff going on up here. So click around, have a nice time. Check out our latest holiday video featuring the two Odrics right here. But let's get to this deck tech.
Ooh, okay, so this week the theme is Earthquake's Tribal. We put together a deck where the whole point is to win by casting spells that do damage to all players, ourselves included. So of course we're going to put in some life gain spells, little ways, effects to gain some life so that keep us ahead of that curve so that we will not die from those things, but all of our opponents will, hopefully at the same time, so they can't identify us as a threat. So we're going to use the Naya colors for that, red, green, and white. So white is mainly for the life gain, red is for the effects about earthquakes, and green are the green earthquakes, which are the hurricanes, right?
Right, okay,
All those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But our commander, using the Naya colors, is going to be Gahiji, Honored One. Gahiji gives a combat bonus to anyone attacking opponents. So pound for pound, if everyone just attacks kind of on the even Stevens level, we will still be ahead on life with everyone else by 2 points per creature.
Yeah, hoping that they don't turn it around on you, right?
Hopefully, yes.
It's like, well, wait, let's not attack each other, let's attack him. But yeah, generally, getting your opponents to attack each other, nice move for sure.
Yeah, that's just bonus. Great. So, I mean, since we are running Gahiji, there's a little bit of a token strategy going on. A couple cards I want to highlight are Secure the Waste. Instant speed, putting a ton of tokens down that can attack as 3/1s is a great way to get opponent's life total below ours. And Mere Battlesphere, in a similar way, we get tokens so we can attack with the Mere as 3/1 that it makes, or we can use that tapping Mere ability to do bonus damage if maybe they have a good, maybe we can't get our tokens through, but we can get a big Mere Battlesphere through. We can do an additional 4 damage to a player. That way, again, it's about chipping their life totals down so that we have a higher life total for them earthquakes.
Another cool little synergy here is Karametra, God of Harvest, which is the green and white god that will allow you to get a land into play, a forest or a plains tapped when you cast a spell. So when you're casting creature spells, rather, you'll be able to ramp at the same time. And if you also have Retreat to Emeria out, you'll be able to either add another token to the battlefield. So every creature now gets you a land and a token. Or once you're ready to send the team in, you can have Retreat to Emeria pump your creatures for every creature that you cast, in addition to, of course, every land. Landfall being so key and making such a good synergy with Karametra that it's kind of like you create your own Edward Markov. That also ramps you, though, right? It's kind of better. So, yeah, and it doesn't need to be vampires. It's great. But yeah, really cool synergy here, right? Just building out the board either for defensive purposes or for the swing into attack before a big earthquake. I love it.
Yeah, and if we haven't mentioned it, that ramp is just great because earthquakes are X spells. So the more lands we have out, the better that is.
Yeah, you just want lots of lands out here, exactly, to cast that hurricane or to cast that earthquake.
Yeah, let's go on to another neat move. Alhammaret's Archive is that artifact, that legendary artifact from Origins, that whenever you gain life, you gain double the life. Well, we have a lot of life gain here, little life gain creatures and things like that. So gaining double the life just makes it even easier to stay ahead of our opponents on life total. But then the neat move here is that other ability where whenever we draw a card, we get to draw 2 cards. I keep forgetting that. So let's talk about each individually. The life gain one works amazing with a card like Eternity Vessel. Eternity Vessel sets when it enters the battlefield, we put charge counters on it. That's our life total, and so we set it at whatever our life total is. And every time we play a land, we get to go back to that life total. But the game sees that as gaining life or losing life if we would choose to bring our life total down. I don't know why we would do that, but if we wanted to. But the Alhammaret's Archive with Eternity Vessel will gain us double. So it'll put us ahead of the number of charge counters that are on there every time we play a land. Just in general, Eternity Vessel is great. We can play a massive earthquake, then drop a land, and then get our life total back to where it was. So earthquakes don't even hurt us. Very neat. And then Alhammar's Archive just works even better with incidental card draw, like Forgotten Cave, right? Any of those cycling lands, anything that cycles, little draw ones here or there that I keep forgetting about. Bums us like, oh, great, bonus. I get to draw 2 from this. I didn't even see that coming. It's great. It's a great card.
Eternity Vessel also works pretty sweet with the Karametra Return to Emeria thing, or Retreat to Emeria.
Oh, big time.
Right? Just Karametra in general. Casting creatures now also get your life total back up if it's down below where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Also, not to mention the idea of like gaining a bunch of life is it before you cast Eternity Vessel, right? So like,
oh yeah, you could cast it when your life total's up in the 80s.
Yeah. And it's just a real nightmare for your opponents.
Truly.
But also, let's talk about some of the main synergies when it comes to the Earthquake card. So you know your Earthquakes, your Squall lines, your Fault lines. These are all very similar effects. The green ones will generally tend to hit each player and flying creatures. The red ones are generally going to hit each player and ground creatures, or ones without flying. Obviously, there's some sorcery versions, there's some instant versions. The cards you want to be pairing these guys up with, well, it's just about every card in this whole deck, obviously. But Boros Reckoner works really well. Anything that's going to be able to spit the damage back out at someone. Spite Mare is also one. We have Exquisite Archangel, which is another different type of move where you'll be able to essentially wrath the board, kill everyone, and even if this would kill yourself, if you're at a low life total, Exquisite Archangel is actually going to jump in front of that game loss for you, and
yeah.
take that bullet, and then she exiles herself, and you get your starting life total back. So, man, this is a card we don't talk about too often, and is so good. There's so many uses for this card. So Exquisite Archangel, like a bit of an all-star in this deck because we're hitting life totals so hard, and that's probably going to turn your opponents on you. So great move there. And then finally, Boros Charm is a great one also, just because it turns all of your Earthquakes for 2 less mana into one-sided board wipes, because we're going to be giving all of our permanents indestructible. Also, the double strike and the direct 4 damage, not 100% useless. Like, because it is a damage-based deck, once in a while you're going to want that just direct damage or double up on something once in a while.
Yeah, that's very possible. That's very possibly a way to finish off an opponent, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. What if our opponents are doing pretty well and they've decided like, oh, we're going to attack you a bunch because we don't want you to be way ahead of us. We think that's a dangerous place to be. Well, that's why we got Rurik Thar the Unbowed. Unbowed?
Unbowed.
I'm not sure.
He doesn't bow. He has vigilance.
Yeah, dude, don't bow. So he's got vigilance and reach. He has to attack each turn if able, which is an interesting combination right there, because Rurik Thar will always be available for defense as well. And the fact they gave him reach as well, what a weird card. But the key ability on him, whenever a player, any player, that includes you, casts a non-creature spell, Rurik Thar deals 6 damage to that player. Okay, so that's not going to do great for us with Earthquakes, but it's going to hurt certain players a lot by casting spells. But what if we attach Spirit Loop to Rurik Thar? So now Rurik Thar has pseudo lifelink. It's not official lifelink, but when it's a triggered lifelink thing. And when Spirit Loop is put into the graveyard, we get it back into our hand, so we don't have to worry about them removing this. Cast Spirit Loop early on a creature. If it gets dealt with, cool, we'll get it back. We'll put it on Rurik Thar later. But now, every time anyone casts a spell, they take 6, and Rurik Thar gives us 6. And if we play our own Earthquake, there is that delayed trigger, though. We can't kill ourselves with the Earthquake because we'll get the 6 back after that trigger resolves. So we can't kill ourselves with Earthquakes, but we'll get that life back that Rurik Thar takes from us, no problem.
Yeah, whatever Rurik Thar tries to hit us for, we're just going to gain it right back again. So that's a sweet move.
Yeah.
And next we have up our boy Odric Narc Marshall. Of course, yeah, of course. This is the one from Shadows over Innistrad. So this is the one that it grants all the keywords. So like if it's at the beginning of combat, if someone has like Death Touch, it gives your whole team Death Touch until the end of turn. And the same is true for a myriad of keywords here. So we're going to be using that for some keywords like Vigilance that we'll gain from like a Loyal Unicorn, which is just also just an incredible card in general because it's going to let us attack. Gahiji is going to be pumping everything, and we can attack with vigilance and have no damage dealt back to them. That's incredible. We're also going to be, we'll get cards, keywords, like hexproof and indestructible from like a fleecemane lion, various different things in here. Basically, vigilance helps with the defense, also helps with attacking, and then obviously that the indestructible is going to help us with casting a bunch of earthquakes and have them all become one-sided board wipes at that point.
Ooh, one-sided board wipes are a dream come true.
Yeah,
they're great.
That's what you want to do.
Great. So let's talk about another little strategy we might have. So let's say we cast a rolling earthquake, right? We've done a lot of damage to all the creatures. We've decided that it's like, yeah, you know what? Board's getting kind of hectic. I want to just eliminate the creatures, except for the ones with horsemanship, right? So like,
yeah,
who does that not hit?
Not so fast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the only thing. So our opponents in theory will have the first chance to rebuild. So they'll drop a creature here, 2 creatures there, maybe no creatures if they've spent all what's in their hand already. So then on the next player's end step before our turn, we've been waiting on a March of the Multitudes, standard playable card right now, and we're going to instant speed create a bunch of tokens. That's key. So now on our turn, we're going to drop a Beastmaster Ascension, if we haven't already, and attack with 7 the 7 tokens we just made, and they'll immediately become 6/6 attackers because we've put all the counters we need on it, which is like, what have I done? So 7 6/6s. That's enough probably to kill a player right there because we rolling Earthquake last turn, or if not, for sure kill a couple and bring our life total way back up there.
It just goes to show you that you can start with tokens or you can end with tokens. You preferably both. Even you can do both in this deck. It's a easily replenishable source of creatures on the board that are going to be able to do some damage.
Yeah, I think there's a very real play line where you end up just playing a lot of token creatures, and because Gahiji gives them a big bonus, you could probably eliminate a player or 2 just that way and only use 1 earthquake just to finish the job. Or we're just playing a control-y version where we're dropping earthquakes constantly and then making the final move when it's time.
It's an interesting take on a token deck, and I think it's one that you don't see that often. One that runs a lot of board wipes that will hit your own tokens. Not a lot of, I don't think a lot of people would think to do that, but in this deck, it's a really aggressive strategy. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Do we have a discovery here?
I did. Titanic Ultimatum is a neat one in this deck. I don't think I've brewed a lot of Naya decks before, but in a token strategy, man, first strike, lifelink, and trample, and +5/+5. It's more than an overrun, but is it worth it? Is it enough more than an overrun that it makes sense?
I think it is, because it can get you back in a game that you're losing, even if you only have a handful of tokens. I think it's not even. You need 2 or 3 to make this worth it, I think. If you're losing.
Overrun on 3 tokens doesn't matter, but this on 3 tokens does.
Yeah, it can gain you enough life, kill some creatures, it can get you back in a game.
I mean, if Gahiji's out too, then it gets an extra 2 when they attack people.
Yeah. All right. What about the old budget report? What are we looking at here?
Okay. Beep, 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 beep. So the budget report, so this deck comes in at about $126. And half the value lies in 8 cards. So if we make a few cuts, we can get this down to half the value. But some of the top cards are pretty expensive, including Alhammar's Archive. That's $12. I had no idea this got that expensive. It's crazy to me. Rolling Earthquake is about $8, and that's because it's from Portal and it was only reprinted in a From the Vault set, so they didn't print a lot of these. And then the third most expensive card, it's about $5 to $7 depending on where you go. It's March of the Multitudes, because it's in Standard right now, so of course that's got some value. Will that drop when Standard rotates? Probably.
Yeah, and they're all pretty, oddly enough, unique abilities. The instant speed token making, the hitting everything for X, and the doubling of life and mana. So, or not mana, but the card draw.
The hardest one to cut would be March of the Multitudes, because getting tokens at instant speed is so huge. I could cut Alhammar's Archive because we're already getting a bunch of life. Maybe
Yeah.
we don't need to gain double. Maybe rolling Earthquake goes. It's the most versatile hit all creatures and players, but we've got enough of those effects that we could probably do without it. So like there's a quick way to save a $20 bill.
Yeah, I agree. I think Alhamrad's Archive is great. That's why I'm picking it for my favorite card of the deck. But at the same time, I do think it's like you don't necessarily need it. But I picking it as my favorite card because I don't get to see this card that often. It's one that's kind of like you kind of forget about. But this card is really great in the decks that want to do this type of stuff. I have it in a Duretti deck where like all your looting is now additional draw instead of the looting, right? Like
Yes.
any of the using these cycling lands as an example is a perfect example of how to really get the most out of Alhamrad's Archive. So in general, this card is great. It's just that it's like sometimes kind of easy to cut because it's just a doubling effect, you know?
It's just
But it is
really
great.
good value.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it very much.
It's a very good card.
Yeah.
My personal favorite card in the deck is Shaundra's Ignition. I love that it hits all of your opponents, but not you and your creatures. And with all the effects we have going on, like if we have something with Spirit Loop on it, if we've given our whole team indestructible because of Odric or something like that, or Boros Charm, this is probably another mostly one-sided board wrath. And again, it just chips our opponents down. We didn't mention it, but I have what's that chimera in here that gets its power and toughness is equal to double the number of creatures you control?
Majestic
Myriarch. I have Majestic Myriarch in here. So Chandra's Ignition on a Majestic Myriarch is usually a win right there, because we've got a lot of tokens, so it's probably a 20-20 or a 30-30 right there.
Yeah. How close were you to putting Fire Song and Sunspeaker into this deck?
I was pretty close. Again, it was one of those things where I had to wrestle with, like, because it doesn't help the green spells I'm doing. Yeah, like I think that's a good add, and I think I probably should maybe cut one of those other cards we talked about and put in a Fire Silence Sunspeaker for sure.
Yeah, great. Well, there it is. That's the deck take this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy holidays to everyone if you're watching this at the time it came out. Otherwise, you're watching this like in the summer of 2021.
Happy whatever
Peace.
Holiday is near.
What's up, July 10th, 2021? How you doing? Thanks for watching the video on this day. If you are watching the video on that day, say hi. But otherwise, if you're watching it like close to when it came out, go check out our Odric Christmas video. It's up on YouTube. All I Want for Christmas is Odric. We made a full music video for it, and we sang the song and everything. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.